Hi, you mystery cats and meddling kids. It's your girl, Pammy Chanel, back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about season 5 of The Crown and why I just wasn't feeling it this time around. But before we start, I want to stress to you guys that this is historical fiction, meaning some of the events may have happened, but not all of the different dramatics are actually true. And some things may be a little skewed for that dramatic effect. I don't really think that they should put a disclaimer on it, but maybe some people don't understand what historical fiction is in a drama. So there you have it. Teachers and taught you. But moving on. I want to start with some of the positives though. One of the positive things I loved about the season was the fact that they went through and kind of gave Charles his dues for the things that he's done with his Duchy of Cromwell. He really did some things that were very, very good for underprivileged children. And sometimes I feel like Charles gets kind of brushed in the shadow of Diana, because Diana did some very, very amazing things, but so did Charles as far as charity. I mean, you saw the portion of him trying to breakdance. That was actually true. That actually happened. There's actual video of it. And if I can find it, I'll definitely put it into this video. But he really was trying to do a lot of good things for underprivileged youth, people from different nationalities and different religions that live within Great Britain. And we saw from season, I think 3, when he was actually made the Prince of Wales, and how he went through and learned the language of the Welsh people. We know that he was a little bit different than what his family probably wanted him to be. So kudos for the Crown for showing that aspect of Charles. As much as Charles is not my favorite person, I also don't think that Charles is some devil. Another thing that I really, really liked about this season of The Crown is that they did show what led up to the infamous interview with Diana and Martin Bashir on the TV show Panorama, which is aired on BBC. Martin Bashir is a conniving little man, and I think that he has gotten his just dues because now his reputation is ruined, and I'm glad that the Crown put that up. We needed to see this from all aspects, because prior to this, finding out about how he came about of the interview, prior to this, we only thought that she was just giving an interview because he, had given his interview and she was just trying to get back at him. That's not the case. She felt like she was in jeopardy, her life was in jeopardy, and she felt she needed to speak for herself. And she kind of was misled. But do I think Diana would have given that speech regardless? I kind of do. I think she would have eventually given that interview. And the third thing I liked about the season 5 of The Crown is that the actors pretty much were on point, especially Dominique West. Oh my God. Like, I have no attraction to King Charles III, not one drop. I stay dry as I don't know what, but Dominique West, who child, yes Lord. Like, I just can't see him as Prince Charles. Even though I know that's him, portraying him, I cannot see it. The previous actor, a little bit, I could see it, but Dominic West, no. He got it going on. Prince Charles is not, King Charles is. I'm still getting used to calling him King, y'all. He don't have it like that. So, yeah, he got my motor running during the season. That's a big plus. But getting off of that, the portrayal of Diana, the portrayal of the Queen, they did a great job. And another good I'm not sure of her name, but whoever portrayed Anne was spot on as well. Like, the hairstyle she had back in those days, which she kind of still wears now, but I digress. She had it spot on. So I really, really like that. But now it's time to get into the negative part. So here in America, we eat up that tabloid side of the royals because we're petty like that. But I remember growing up in the 80s and 90s and watching shows like A Current Affair and Hard Copy, and being able to see some of the things that were going on in the royal family, and just watching the local news during 1991, even though this period really starts in 1992. But from 1991 onward, being able to kind of get the tea on what the royals and stuff were doing and how they no longer were this prim and proper family, but they had some serious issues, which I don't understand. People didn't see that they had issues anyway. I mean, we all learned about King Henry VIII. But moving on. So one of the things that in the Crown I was very frustrated was the continuous talking about this yacht, the Britannica. Nobody cares about it. We don't care. I thought that the British people were more concerned when the Windsor Castle had burnt down and they had to restore it, because that was a bigger issue and a much more historical issue. Because here, this castle that belongs to the Queen has burnt down, and the question of who was going to pay to have it restored. The yacht was not something that they used all the time, but the Windsor Castle was something they used all the time. And what ended up happening was the Queen ended up having to pay taxes to help fund the restoration of this castle. And also Buckingham Palace became open to the public, and they were going to charge to have people come in and take tours to also help get with the cost of the castle. So that was a bigger deal than this yacht. I mean, I know the yacht was an issue, but it wasn't that big of an issue, not to keep dragging it along. I mean, I know they had to give Philip some kind of storyline, but second, like I said, between 1991 and so on, there's been scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal in the royal family. And the reason why I'm pulling 1991 out, I know you're like, why is she beating 1991? In 1991, Prince William was accidentally hit with a golf club, rushed to the hospital, and had to have surgery done. Diana stayed. Charles went for a public engagement. That was a big hurrah. That's when we started to see the coldness of Charles, because prior to that, we didn't know anything about what was going on in their private lives. It hadn't really been published. Everything was just speculation that he was a douche. But seeing him leave his son, I think he was like maybe 8 or 9 years old at the time, seeing him leave his son to be going through surgery and not being there with him because duty came first was another way that we, especially as Americans, saw him as being cold-hearted. Why was it not covered in The Crown? Y'all been kind of smushing dates and stuff around, and like I said, this is historical fiction. It should have been covered. And we can't say, oh, The Crown's trying to protect Will. Bullshit. Because one of the storylines in The Crown is how Diana is too dependent on Will, and Will is too much worried about what his mother is feeling. And so if we could talk about that, we could talk about this. I'm also glad that they actually brought that up, because I do think that anytime a parent puts to have an emotional connection with their kids, where they're giving their kids too much of their private information, adult information, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. But moving on. Y'all, I got notes. I took notes while I was watching. The plot of Prince Philip and Penny Natchell. Why? I'm just like, why? I don't care about no geriatric love triangle. I really don't. And I don't think it was that big of a deal, because if it was that big of a deal during that time, it would have been spread all over the tabloids. And it wasn't. Everything else that his children were doing were being overshadowed. And I also think it's kind of cruel, because she not only was friends with or close with Prince Philip, she was also close with the Queen. And to have these type of innuendos that she and him may have had a relationship, it's kind of harsh, being that this woman lost her daughter at the age of 5. And, Prince Philip had lost his sisters. Sometimes when we have, deaths and we're grieving, we tend to lean on people who understand what we're going through. And especially when the death is sudden and not expected. So he may have been just trying to help her through a difficult situation, and she was able to kind of help him with whatever he was going through, and it was a respect for one another. I don't see them having a relationship, but really nobody cares. whole Moo episode, yeah, I guess because it has this 6 degree of separation where, um, Dodi Fayed's father, Muhammad Fayed, goes and buys the cat or the living place of the Duke of Windsor, and he still keeps his, I guess, his servant, Sidney Johnson, around. And I guess that might be interesting, but that's a side plot. That should not be like this whole episode based on Moo. Nobody cares. Um, that's something that could probably stay for season 6 and maybe some flashbacks. I don't know. It just sounded, it was weird, and then Moo, ooh, just ooh. I'm sorry, y'all. And then the biggest issue I have with the Crown season 5. This is the biggest issue I have. Where the fuck was Fergie? Where was Fergie? That scandal was probably the biggest scandal of all. You've got a royal wife, the wife of one of Queen Elizabeth's sons, having her toes sucked by an American. And the only thing you guys talk about it is in passing conversation between the Queen and Andrew. And we know that didn't go down that way. You talk about something dramatic, a big scene that could have been put in the Crown would be Fergie coming down for breakfast and those tabloids being put down there, and she being so embarrassed that she hops on a commercial flight back to London with her kids. Yes, that should have been explored more. See, the biggest thing about 1990, and I'm going to say 92 this time, still 91 up to 96, the biggest issues was that the royal marriages were falling apart. We get a little sublet mess about Anne, which was really a big deal because here she was divorced. Her husband was still alive. She was going to remarry a man who was younger than her. That really wasn't discussed that much. Prince Andrew and Fergie's whole marriage was falling apart based upon the fact that he was doing too much of his duties. She was left alone, and she liked the company of rich men, and she got it. And then, of course, we have the issues with Diana and Prince Charles. All three of these things made this a big deal for the Queen. And then on top of that, the icing of the cake is Windsor burning down, because pretty much that's what it was happening. But to not include the Fergie and Andrew saga, I just think that's what this season was missing. It was missing that piece de resistance. It was missing it. And I'm just like, not to mention also during this time, after Fergie, like, it didn't talk about any of what Fergie got. And Fergie got far less money than Diana got. And she had to go out there because of her debts. That's another thing they could have added on the Crown. Fergie and her debts. She had to go out there and she had to work. And so people now criticize Meghan Markle and Prince Harry for doing, making money off of their notoriety as royals. Sarah Ferguson was doing it first. She had Welch's commercials, weight loss, Weight Watchers commercials. She wrote a book. All of these things appeared on Friends. All of these things happened during this time period. And not to mention, Prince Philip despised her at this point. Not to have any kind of dynamic and just brush her off to the side is horrible. I think that is the worst thing that they could have done. And I get it. Most people know about Princess Diana and Prince Charles's issues, but Fergie and Andrew's issues, or just Fergie by herself, caused a lot of a headache for the royal family. And I just don't understand why the Crown missed this opportunity. And to throw it in season 6 is not going to fly, because I think that's where they're going to start with 1997. And, that's kind of when 1996, 97, when Princess Diana kind of passes away, the ending part of her life is where it goes into. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you guys felt differently. I really feel like this time I didn't leave the Crown after watching it feeling any kind of, I'm not saying that it wasn't good. It was very, very good to a degree, but but if you were alive during that time and you know what happened, it was very lackluster. And I really hope that they do a little bit better, being that season 6 is supposed to be the last season. I really hope that it gets to take the show and go out with a bang, because season 5 just ain't it. Everyone 1 through 4, great. There was always something that you're like, but season 5, it was like, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna binge watch this season for a second time. I mean, I actually went back and started binge watching the first season because that's always gonna be my favorite. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I know this is a little bit different because I'm reviewing a television show versus reviewing a documentary thing. But if you like this video, please hit that like button. If not, it's okay. And if you like the videos that I'm doing, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. And until next time, stay nosy. Oh, one more thing. If you'd like for me to review some more historical fiction stuff, like the Tudors television series or The Czar, The Last of the Czars is on Netflix. If you want me to do a review on those, I will. But until next time, stay nosy and stay meddling. Bye, guys.